What's up? Welcome back. Monday. Big day of football. We got to talk about it. The Lions win? Wow. The Lions win. We saw that coming from a mile away. Although we picked against it, but that's neither here nor there. I am frazzled. Got in a car accident right before coming back to do the show, but the show must go on. Freddie Mercury's here somewhere. He's up there, maybe, and he's singing it, and we got to roll on. So I'm ready to yell at someone, and it's probably going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Throwing it out there. But we don't start with that. I want to start with the Trenton Cannon injury that we saw in the 49ers Seahawks game. Because it was scary. Ambulance on the field. Bad concussion, head injury. It looked like it could really be bad. Thankfully, before we get into this, he's alive and stable, which is more than I can say about New York football, but that's on the other side of the coin. But this injury makes you realize at some point, if we don't change the way this is going, we've already seen people pass away off the field from CTE and stuff like that. It's probably going to happen on the field at some point if they don't make some changes. And this is a reason why I do love football, but I can't connect with it as much as other sports. This constant reminder, thankfully it's not this bad all the time, but this reminder that these are freight trains running straight at each other all the time is really scary. And it should be taken seriously, and I need to plead with the NFL to just remove kickoffs from the equation. There's no reason to have them anymore. They already changed the touchback rules. These kickers are really good. They seem to be able to get touchbacks whenever they want them, pretty much. There's too much speed and too much strength for these guys to be running full field at each other, crushing each other, for what usually is a negligible difference. Even if you bring it out, you're somewhere between the 15 and the 30 most of the time. It doesn't matter enough. There aren't enough kick returns. There aren't enough big plays. I feel the same about punting, honestly. Punting, you have a little more of an argument because it's not as standard. You could be punting from anywhere. You could need to pin the other team. You could need to boom one to get out of your own zone. I get that. But the returns are just too much. These gunners are going too fast down the field, a lot of the times unblocked. And it's just wild collisions. And I just don't think it adds that much to the game. Nobody's watching football for a potential kick return collision. It doesn't matter. And I don't want to take jobs away from good special teams players. They matter. And coaches too, but this is just too much. And do we need to see it happen before we stop it? Can't we just remove this now? You ask me, get rid of kickers in general, but we'll talk a lot about kicking as the day goes on. I just wanted to start there because it's a sobering note, and between that and just getting away with a car accident that could have been worse, it makes me realize that it's not so bad to lose on the Bengals, I guess. I'm still going to yell at them, trust me. But, you know, you got to remember what you're dealing with here. So they should change the rules to try to just try to make this a little safer. They say they do player safety stuff, and they never really do, and they still don't even give insurance to the players. So here's an opportunity to get rid of some injuries that could be avoided. And if Roger Goodell is listening, or it makes its way to him somehow, just get rid of kickoffs. We don't need them. Like I said, New York football is dead. We'll get to that. Another silver lining, when the Bengals try to lose the game in the first 3 minutes, and the Jets defense makes Beowulf Minshew look like Joe Montana. I love Minshew, but you got to mention that part of his name is Beowulf. You can get half your Christmas shopping done rather than being absolutely disgusted by what you're seeing on the television. So, you know, we didn't get nothing. And we didn't lose all the picks. We actually broke about even. And Saturday was great. UFC, we crushed. So we roll on. Let's try to figure out what happened. We'll dive into the box scores in a second. A lot of two-point conversions failed. A lot of weird kicking situations. I looked it up for the whole season before we even started the show. I'm hovering at about 53% picking every game against the spread. It's not so bad. We should be doing a little better. And this week hurt us when it comes to that number because we took some lumps. But We're higher than that for our specific picks, so we're hitting at about 55 to 60% clip on the picks that we give on the show, which is good. And like I said, I'll start really bookkeeping better in the new year. And I want to get some display stuff on the show to show on the screen. Maybe down here, I'll put a little bar or a box here or somewhere. And once the chat really starts popping, we'll put that on the screen too. So we're working towards some stuff. This is all a trial run for the rest of December. But still winning some cash if you go with the right picks. Saturday, like I said, was great. We had that UFC round robin. It was an unbelievable UFC card, by the way. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it in hindsight. But there were some great fights. Aldo looked awesome. That fight was really competitive and good. He survives, and he might get a title shot soon, which is wild, in a different division. And if you watched on Thursday, we did a whole breakdown of that card. And we took a round robin with 4 different fighters, broke it into 2s, 3s, and 4s. There were 11 different bets, and we only lost one. The Smolka fight, which Smolka was looking great, got his opponent in a tie clinch, so he's holding his head and ripping him with knees to the body. And then the guy just kind of breaks the clinch, throws a right over the top, and just catches him. And it was a quick flash knockout, and there's nothing you could do about that. I felt like the fight was going pretty well for us in the beginning. But we hit the other 3. Alex Morono, Jamal Hill, crazy knockout. Not only did we hit that one as an underdog, but if you watched on Twitter, at MikeTheMush Sports, I said we should be taking Hill first round and knockout. And if you can get first round knockout, huge odds. And that's because if he let the fight go on and Jimmy Crute was able to wrestle him, it would have gone poorly. So he goes for it, gets the knockout quick. We win that one. And then we had Fazeev, who also wins. So we hit 3 out of 4. Things were going great. Sunday, on the other hand, was up and down. But we only lost one team, which would have made for a gigantic day if they didn't turn it over every 10 seconds. And I am currently anti-Tigers. You want to tell me Detroit Tigers baseball is in the mix? Nope. I'm out. I'm out on the Bengals. I'm out on things with stripes. No stripes. I'm disappointed in how that one went. So we lost the straight-up Bengals bet. We lost the teaser that had the Bengals and the Vikings in it together. At least you lose both legs and you don't lose 2 different bets, because on the other side, we had Washington football team money line as an underdog. That one cashed. And then we had a teaser with the Washington football team and the Dolphins against the Giants, which also cashed. And then we had a small long shot parlay at plus 370 for Bucks, Colts, Bengals, Dolphins, Rams. And we hit 4 out of the 5, and only the Bengals screwed us. So the picks are on target, and our breakdowns and analysis are good. It's just that the Bengals one didn't go our way. But we're not going to start there. We are going to start with the Detroit Lions. I know I just made fun of the Tigers, but it was an animal pun. The Lions get the victory. I can't believe I teased the Vikings. What an idiot. First of all, we would have lost anyway, so it doesn't make me feel that bad. Secondly, I've been saying all year how overrated the Vikings are. Because just because they're talented, who cares? They find ways to lose games. That's just as bad as not having talent in the first place. I also have been saying all year that there's too much talent in the NFL these days to have a team go winless. I really believe that. I don't know if we'll ever see it again. Maybe if some injuries or some extenuating circumstances come. But I didn't see it with this team. The Lions compete a lot. And this felt like a spot where they could win, and I just missed it. I should have sprinkled their money line. So that's on me, because I should have listened to myself. All year I've been preaching these 2 things. So this doesn't surprise me that much. Kirk Cousins finds a way to lose a game. Shocker. You look at his stats like every week and you're like, oh, 75% passing, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. No. He did some things in this game that were stupid. And he's barely able to outplay Jared Goff. And when it came down to it, Goff made the touchdown pass and Cousins really didn't. Just first of all, never underestimate the ability to fade the Vikings in any capacity. They should have lost to the Lions twice now, by the way. They won on a last-second field goal here. Lions scored a touchdown to go ahead with 1:19 left in that game the last time they played. And then they're able to get a 54-yard field goal to win, which everyone figured was not going to go in because it's the Vikings. That saved a lot of people's survivors pools and stuff, but This one, you look no further than Minnesota missed a bunch of 2-point conversions, right? 10-play drive. This was a field goal. And then they fumble. They turn it over on that one. Their defense, I mean, Zimmer needs to be fired, right? You have to fire Mike Zimmer. And he wouldn't even be so mad because pretty sure, yeah. He's dating this person. The autoplay. All right, Jared Goff highlights on the Mike Zimmer girlfriend thing. Yeah. What? First of all, what? Second of all, if you fire him and he goes home to that, I don't think he's that mad about it. Cousins got sacked and fumbled, so we got to factor that in. They don't score a touchdown in the first half. They're down 20-6. Of course we know they're going to come back. At this point at halftime, it would have been a good bet to bet the Vikings. But everyone knew that, and it was factored in. They score the touchdown. They go for 2. They run it with the backup. Not even the fullback, who's pretty good. That fails. Okay. Score again. Go for it. They run it again. Don't get it. You know you don't have Dalvin Cook, right? Okay. Score a touchdown here. Go for it. Kirk Cousins throws an impossible ball to catch to Justin Jefferson, who's just hands on his head, frustrated at this point. And they don't get it. They missed 3 2-point conversions. They scored... What did they score? 1, 2, 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals? No, that can't be. 3 field goals. 1, 2, 3. So they settle for 3 field goals. A lot of that time they were already in the red zone. And they scored 3 touchdowns. And they still only came out with 27 points. What? Bad. I can't believe by the time we are recording this that Mike Zimmer still has a job. It's pretty wild. This is the one where you lose and you're like, okay, that's enough. They're probably out of playoff contention now. Detroit didn't even have Swift. This defensive play, the last play, they're in like a prevent the whole time, which is nonsensical. You don't play prevent literally ever. It makes no sense. Play defense how you can best play defense. But the Vikings throw like 9 guys back defending the back line of the end zone, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Equimenius' brother, great names, just stops at the goal line because nobody's there and he's wide open. He's untouched. He doesn't even get tackled. What are you doing? Also, they got into a rhythm. I watched way too much of this game. They got into a rhythm when they started blitzing Jared Goff. Why? Because everyone knows that Jared Goff under pressure does nothing but turn the ball over and make errant throws and make weird plays. He actually got pressured and fumbled a horrible, horrible play late in the game, which should have locked it up. Detroit up, sacked, recovered at their own 19. That's how the final touchdown even happened before the Lions drove back to win it. So all you have to do is blitz, and then they give up the blitz and start playing prevent on the final drive. And Goff just takes what's in front of him because he has time, and then takes what's in front of him, which happens to be in the end zone, to win the game. Nightmare if you're the Vikings. Thielen gets hurt. Their defense without Everson Griffin seemed to be a little confused at times. Good for Detroit. Good for them winning a game. Jared Goff redemption arc, I'm here for it. I've always liked him more than people give it credit for. And Kirk Cousins is so overrated and will continue to be. So yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about this game? But you got to look forward to the Vikings tailspin. They play the Steelers on Thursday, coming off of this loss. I will not be picking that in my official picks, I promise you. Steelers, Vikings, I want no piece of either of those teams, and we'll get to why. Gross. Okay. Let's talk about the Bengals. Let's just talk about it. Here's the thing. They turned the ball over 1 million times. They had 4 turnovers. Chargers actually had 3. And I'm not going to say that you don't give the Chargers credit for getting the turnovers. But the Chargers turnovers looked like the Bengals did something to get the ball. A lot of the Bengals ones just looked like they just gave it away. And injuries, too, in this one. Burrow got hurt. Mixon left the game for a little while. Pirine got hurt. They have no running backs. Mixon ended up coming back, fumbling the game away. Bosa got hurt for the Chargers. This was just a weird game. And yet you look at it and you're like, okay, you're down 24-0. You're basically crossing it off already. I had them on the money line. I thought they were going to win the game. Then they score a touchdown. They miss an extra point. Jesus. No one can score after the touchdown. What's the problem? Then a fumble. They get it back. They score. We're down 11. They throw a pick. I'm like, oh my God, we're going. That's where Burrow gets hurt. And then they're on the 41, 19 seconds left. They complete a pass and they're at midfield. They don't spike it and they don't go for a Hail Mary. Or even these days, a 65-yard field goal or whatever it is. Why? So that's weird, first of all. Then they come out, they kick a field goal, they're down 8. They're back in the game. They're right back in it. And the Chargers fumble. Cincinnati goes down, scores, goes for 2, can't get it. Brutal. But it's a 2-point game, and then you force a punt. And I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I said was going to happen. The Chargers just find a way to lose the game. They're not great. The Bengals weather the storm. They figure it out. They're running down their throat. No problem. That's where it goes poorly. They're already at the 43. They're at the 46. They're in Chargers territory. They're moving. They're running nonstop. And Mixon fumbles, and it gets returned for a touchdown, and this ended the game. It really did. It hurts so bad. Just a random fumble. We got everything right. It was all working. And then they go 3 and out. Then the touchdown to put it away. Then Burrow throws a pick, and it's really over. But they fought all the way back to get into it. And I just can't really fault myself that much. Because they ran the ball well a lot of the time, which I said was going to happen. The Chargers tried to blow the game, which I said was going to happen. Herbert looked great. I'll acknowledge that. But this is just nothing but the 4 turnovers and digging yourself a 24-point hole by turning the ball over super early. You turn the ball over twice in your own red zone, including, oh my God, the Jamar Chase play. He has an 80-yard touchdown in his hands and just bats it up in the air and turns into an interception. What a huge swing that is. It's a nightmare start that's almost impossible to come back from, and they should have tried. I wonder if people include in their models and their statistical breakdowns and account for these kind of things in games, because somewhere it's just written down as 2 turnovers, but somewhere else it's really a batted play that should have been a touchdown. And being down 16 fast and needing to come back is worse than the sum of its parts, if that makes sense. It's worse than it shows statistically. It's mentally taxing. I wonder if that gets included by anybody anywhere statistically, because it matters so much, but it doesn't show up on a box score. Games can just end immediately. And then you claw all the way back into it, and you blow it again with the fumble and interception, and then all the injuries, and I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I don't feel great about the Chargers coming out of this game. I don't know how you would. They get the win, and they're in the hunt, and they're in really good spot for the playoffs, and so are the Bengals. And this is another matchup that I could see if this happened in the playoffs, it would be interesting to watch. These two teams are interesting with each other. But I don't feel like I was as wrong as it seemed. Maybe I'm sugarcoating myself. Bengals had more time of possession. You know? It's tough. This is a tough one. Penalties were about equal. Both quarterbacks played well. Burrow played well through injury. Who knows what's going to happen with his pinky finger on the? He was using a glove. So I'm not gonna kill myself for this one, because I thought we were on the right track with a lot of what we said. Chargers D is a problem. Can't stop the run. And if not for Chase dropping a long touchdown and Mixon not fumbling for 6, The Bengals probably win. They definitely win. So I'm okay with it. I'm upset about the turnovers, and I hate Joe Mixon. I've always hated him since he beat that girl, allegedly, or whatever. I don't know if he got whatever. And he just seems like a garbage person, and I've never really liked him. I thought he was overrated. A lot of the time, he doesn't carry that team to anything. And when he's looking good, I'm like, all right, fine. And he should have ran better, but they were ripping off chunks. They were just down a lot, so they couldn't commit to the run enough. And then he fumbles 6, and I'm like, yep, totally justified. You should have continued hating him. But if we hit this Bengals game, if they come back and one of those things go our way, we would have swept the entire day. I would have swept it all up. And I was going to start the stream today like we started it last week with a broom because we hit everything. Instead, I was going to make it a shovel to pour dirt on New York football. And then it didn't seem right after the Trenton Cannon injury thing. So what are you going to do? Anyway, Cincinnati loses. It's gross. It's really gross. Let's get to one we hit. Washington football team. This one was closer than I really would have wanted. They needed a long field goal from a guy they got off the street to win the game at the end. I don't even know his name. Brian Johnson. Thank you, Brian Johnson. Washington was underdogs. They come out with the victory. The Raiders couldn't move the football the whole day, and Washington should have. This felt like the score should have been much more wide. But hey, thank God for gutsy field goal kickers in their 5th NFL game ever. What are you going to do? I don't know what really stopped Washington from winning this game. They were just ripping off chunk plays a lot of the time. Gibson looked good running it. Heineke was fine. Turned the ball over a little bit. They didn't fumble. They had 1 interception. Vegas just actually didn't turn the ball over. That was the difference. So, thank God Ron Rivera didn't go for it on that 4th down. They ended up kicking a field goal here to take the lead, but it looked like they were going to go for it. They lined up, and they tried to draw them off sides, and then they kicked. But the interception here was really rough. It almost lost it for us. And Vegas does take the lead at the end, but left a little too much time. And time again, we've seen Heineke drive for wins. Long drives. 8-play drive here. They did like 13 against Tampa. And they have some skill players. They really aren't as bad as they seem. Their defensive players have gotten crushed. No Chase Young. But their defense has shown up regardless. They lose Logan Thomas in this one. And by the way, Logan Thomas had an insane catch. I think he tore his ACL after that. But let's see if we can find this catch. Yeah, right here. Look at that. Get up. Get up, baby, for a touchdown. Big play. Big play. Whoop! You're up there. We got a better view here. Get up, baby. That's a tight end. It's a real shame. Look at that picture. It's really nice. It's like the catch almost. It's a real shame he tears his ACL. They needed him bad. What are you going to do? Injuries stink. The only other thing I had written down was 31 seconds left in the game on this last drive, right? Vegas first down does something really smart that they've been doing all year, and this is one of the reasons they have 6 wins, because it's worked out for them a ton. They go ultra deep on first down. Carr aired it out as far as it could go, and it was incomplete. But the first thing the announcing team says is, no flag! Because that's what happens all the time. Either you're there and you catch it, or you have a pretty good chance of drawing a pass interference. I thought that was really good play calling to go super deep. Even though you only need a field goal to win, and you don't have a lot of time, you could have gotten down there for free with a little bit of yellow. And you can win that way often enough. You should sprinkle it in throughout games. You should be taking deep shots every now and then. Just A, to keep the defense honest. B, to put pressure on the refs. C, you might make a play. So that was interesting. And then there was a timeout here with 10 seconds left. It should have been like 15 seconds. The refs just stealing time off the clock and then never went back to review it. We review every little thing, but not the clock in a game time situation. And it probably wouldn't have mattered. But they don't get far enough. The right team wins that one. And we took the Washington football team on the money line at plus odds, so that feels pretty good. And we had them in a teaser, so that was good too. And the other leg of that teaser was Miami, who I want to tell everyone, and I've been saying this for weeks, that Miami is going to go 7-7. They're going to rip off a lot of wins in a row. We looked weeks ago. You can go back and check the VODs on twitch.tv/MikeTheMush or YouTube MikeTheMush. Because right here, after the Bills loss, when they competed in this game, by the way, and competed in the Falcons game, and competed in the Jaguars game, which was in London, which is a hard place, I started to go, are the Dolphins really that bad? Because they have the Texans, Ravens on a Thursday, then the Jets, Panthers, Giants, Jets, and even Saints, Titans you can throw in there. And you're like, this team might rip off a few in a row, and they sure are. And I don't think they're out of the playoffs even. I think their playoff hopes are alive. They're going to smash the Jets next week. They can definitely beat the Saints, who don't have a quarterback. That's a Monday night, which is insane. Is that right? The 27th? Yeah. Wow. Ugh. Can't flex Monday night, I don't think, but they should be able to. I don't know why they don't have that capability. But yeah, this Dolphins defense is really good. We knew we were facing Mike Glennon, who can't play quarterback, and this wasn't really ever in doubt. I don't know why the spread was even this tight, and I don't know why the Dolphins didn't win by more, but Tua looked good again. 30 for 41, 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over at all. He looks sharp. He knows where Waddle is. Devontae Parker is now back. Mike Gesicki is good. Waddle's a real problem. If you didn't get him in fantasy already, you're going to have a hard time getting him next year. He's going to be a trendy pick. They can't really run the football that well. I'm not a big Gaskin guy. Usually he's better than this. And the Giants' D isn't even that bad. So you look at it, and all things considered, they if they move it on the ground more, they probably score 30 in this one, and 39 looks a lot better. But they don't turn it over, and they handle business here. And I think everyone needs to apologize to Tua. People wrote him off way too early in his career. He was dealing with injuries in the first part. Maybe he was never even really super healthy last year. He gets injured again this year. The Dolphins look terrible with Brissett, and somehow that fell down to Tua. And people think that Tua's just bad because of it. He's not. He's healthy now. He's got weapons. He's got a defense that looks competitive, and he shows out and puts up pretty good stats. Why is this any different from what Kirk Cousins is doing, except they win the football game and he doesn't turn it over? And people think Kirk Cousins is way better than Tua, and I just don't. I see a future with Tua that's actually interesting, and I think Kirk Cousins has already peaked. I know that's wild to say, and maybe he's not better right now, but they're similar enough that I'm behind Tua, and I don't think they're getting enough respect yet. Even so, we'll see what the spread is for next week. I'll look it up on an advanced line. I mean, I don't want to do this till Friday, obviously, but Jets play. Well, this isn't right. Is it? Wait. Oh, they have a bye week. I see. There's still bye weeks next week. It's insane how long the season is. How the hell are there still bye weeks next week? Jeez. So they're coming off a bye to smash the Jets? Woof. If you can fade the Giants, you probably should. Glennon got hurt in this one. Sounds like Jake Fromm might start with them, who wasn't on the team until like 20 minutes ago. Got signed to the practice squad. Yeesh. Who do they play next week? At the Chargers. And the line on that is going to be Chargers minus probably 9. I mean, it's got to be a lot, right? 10, 10.5. Yeah, that's a lot of points to give. But the Giants are just so fadeable at this point. We'll see what happens as Friday rolls around, if we put that in the picks or not. I don't know. Undecided. Tua made an unreal third down throw. I wonder if I can find it. Because it was beautiful. A nice floater, like Russell Wilson style. Let's see if anyone was on it like I was. I think this is it. 3rd and 4, yeah. Look at this. Floats it right in over the top of the defense and gets it in there. Perfect. Sometimes you don't need to rip it. Sometimes you don't need to
resolve that he can return to the field and start the play.
Defense on 3rd and 4 for the Giants. Can they hold him? No!
Perfect. Literally perfect throw. That ended the game. I mean, it was an 8-point game. The Giants couldn't score to save their life, so it didn't matter that much. But, yeah, this guy has it right. Michael Anderson, at Beast Mike on Twitter. A big money throw is needed. A big money throw is made. And you clinch it. was really perfect throw. I like Tua. I'm in on Tua. I'm buying Tua stock. If people are selling, I drafted him in fantasy football this year, and he didn't survive on the roster the whole time, but he's good. He's pretty good. Let's talk about Tampa. I really thought we were going to hit the plus 11 with the Falcons on this one. They were scoring so much early, and then they just stopped. Brady is the MVP. I've been saying it for a while. We already knew that. He threw an ugly pick six. Sometimes he has one or two plays that just look really bad, but for the most part, he looked great. They didn't need to run the ball very much, and they didn't. Godwin, unbelievable game. People forget how good he is. Evans, Gronk back is huge for them in the red zone. You can't stop them in the red zone, not with Gronk available. And who knows if Brown's even going to come back to this game. I hope he doesn't. I hope they have some balls and just sit him for the rest of the year. But Falcons probably should have covered the 11, honestly. I still feel good about that because this Tampa secondary still doesn't look healthy or good. I don't know if I can trust them. They gave up 17 in the first half. If you extrapolate that, they're giving up 34 for the game. And I know it doesn't necessarily work that way, but Russell Gage shredded them, 11 receptions, 130 yards. Pitts didn't do great. Could have had a better game. And Cordero Patterson obviously looked really good again. And I just don't know how much I can trust this Tampa secondary. It's going to be hard to pick against Brady come playoff time, especially if they get the 1 seed. The 1 seed's so important this year because you get the bye, you get home field. With 7 teams in, you really want the number 1. And I'm glad I got that plus 400 bet on Tom Brady to win the MVP like a month ago because those odds must be plummeting now. I'm not going to bother to look it up because they're just not going to give it to Rodgers, even though he's probably having a better season. They're just not going to do it. It seems obvious. So you got the MVP. You got a subpar defense. You got a really good front defense. But the secondary, every week I go, man, this doesn't look too good. And it happened again this week. Everyone went 30 for 41. What is that about? Cousins went 30 for 40. Matt Ryan, 30 for 41. I feel like I've said that a bunch of times already. It's weird. Matt Ryan fumbled 3 times. I mean, what the hell? This could have been worse. But they also could have really covered. I like Antoine Winfield in the secondary, and Murphy Bunting hasn't looked very good. And I worry what happens when they face a good team. That's it. I don't know how they'll win the Super Bowl without major philosophical or personnel changes on that side of the ball. And they're not going to happen in all likelihood. And if they face someone really good, they're going to have to get in a shootout, and they definitely can win it. But teams just aren't going to run against them because they know that they can't. So they'll get rolling. I mean, they won 3 in a row now. They face the Bills next week, which is a huge game, and Bills play on Monday night tonight, which we'll break down at the end of the show. But then they get the Saints, Panthers, Jets, Panthers. They should run the table there and feel good going in. Hopefully they don't get hurt. It's really them and the Chiefs as far as vertical offenses go. So they're going to be in the mix, and they should be a favorite to get to the Super Bowl. But if you look at the standings, you start to look at the teams they might have to face. And if it's Arizona, are they going to be able to handle all those receivers and the running game out of the backfield and Kyler? Arizona's going to put up a lot of points on Tampa. Packers, they're going to put up a lot of points on Tampa. Cowboys, they're going to be able to throw on Tampa. I'm not saying Tampa's going to lose these games, but there's a big challenge matchup-wise in a lot of these games that they'll have to go through for the playoffs. So we'll see if Tom can pull it out again. I'm a little more reserved than I thought I would be at this point of the season with them. That's all I'm saying. But they take care of business. Indy, we don't even need to go into. They smash bad teams. That's just what they do. They were an easy cover. I should have put them in more of my picks. Wentz looks fine. When he doesn't turn it over, they win games. I mean, Taylor's unstoppable. The Texans are terrible. They benched Tyrod. They're going back to Davis Mills, who's awful. I mean, you can't. Texans and Jaguars are together now. You can't take them. It doesn't matter what it is. They play the Seahawks next week. I don't care what the spread is. It's probably, I mean, they're home to the Seahawks, but the Seahawks are going to be a touchdown favorite because what do you put the lines at now? Seattle, Houston, 7.5. I mean, and that's Seattle's a bad team. And you're like, well, No one can take Houston. They're going to try to get you to take Houston. And I just refuse. Same as the Jags. So those picks become easier and the review becomes easier on Mondays because you're like, yeah, they're awful. I get it. They're so awful. They can't run it. They can't do anything. Brandon Cooks is their only good player and he can't get the ball because they don't have a quarterback. This is a tear down like I've never seen one. 20 tackles. Gruger Hill. Good for him. I don't really know him. I'm assuming he's a linebacker. Yeah, East Illinois. 6th round pick in 2016. And he made 20 tackles. Because someone's got to tackle when Jonathan Taylor's just running you down constantly. This Colts team is good. They're definitely going to make the playoffs. People who thought they weren't going to make the playoffs are really silly, in my opinion. Because you look at the AFC and you're like, the AFC's super exciting and fun, but the Colts are, well, who knows how it's going to go, but they're better than a lot of these teams in the hunt. I'll say it that. Pats and Bills will both make it, I'm sure. The AFC North, they're just trying to lose games, it seems. Bengals can't win. Ravens were the 1 seed coming into the day. Now it's the Pats. We'll see what happens on Monday. But they looked alarming. We'll talk about that in a second. Steelers I don't believe in because they have Big Ben. Browns I don't believe in because they have a one-arm bandit quarterback who they refuse to bench. The Titans don't have Derrick Henry. If they get him back, it all looks a little different. But they're banged up. They don't have Brown now either. Chiefs look great. Chargers look okay. Raiders and Broncos I can't trust. Why aren't the Chiefs better than all these teams? They probably are. So if you can get some action on the Colts to make the playoffs, I think that's good. Their schedule's a little dicey because they have to play the Pats, the Cardinals, the Raiders, and the Jaguars, but they're going to beat the Raiders and the Jaguars. They'll get to 9 wins, and hopefully 9 wins gets you in. They might have to beat the Pats or the Cardinals, though. These are big games. They are big games, but I still think they're a good team. And I'm in on them. And if they miss out on the playoffs and I have to watch 2 teams from the AFC North play, I'm going to throw up. So that's what I have to say about that. If Wentz doesn't turn it over, they pretty much win games. What was next? Rams, Jacksonville, same thing. I mean, what do we need to talk about here? It started a little dicey and Stafford didn't look that hot right away. People are saying he's hurt, whatever, but he shredded them down the stretch. Sony Michel looked good. I know this is a bad Jaguars team, but they needed something in the running game, the Rams. They had to get something going. Henderson hasn't done much. The line hasn't done much. And they ran 5 yards per carry with Michel. If he's a weapon for them, that makes a difference. Cooper Kupp looks good. He didn't have a catch in the first quarter and then just absolutely shredded them after that. Van Jefferson continues to be a good weapon. Beckham's there. I still don't know what to make of that. They have more than enough weapons. Higbee's good. There's no excuses left for this team. They should have blown out the Jaguars, and they do. Jaguars are back as a team where you just... I mean, I'm not taking the Jaguars in any capacity, no matter what. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm not taking them. And who do they play next week and down the stretch? They have the Titans. I mean, this is a really bad game because they're at the Titans. Titans have no players, and you're going to have to take the Titans as like a 10-point favorite, right? There's huge spreads next week. 9.5. It's going to go up. Oh, I'm going to be tempted to take the Titans, and then they're going to somehow lose to the Jaguars because they lost to the Jets, and they lose to teams. They lost to the Texans. That's an ugly game. It's a stay away from me. Don't let me do it. 16-7 advantage. Whoever's watching now and is watching Friday, don't let me do it. Don't even let me do it. It's what I should have said about the Vikings last week. We're not going to waste time talking about this, but, you know, Rams win, and then the Rams have Cardinals. Rematch with the Cardinals next week, Monday night. That's exciting. We're going to talk big about that a week from today on Monday's show. That's a fun one. What's the spread going to be with that? I would say it's at the Cardinals. Cardinals have to be favorites, obviously. That should be, they should probably be 3-point favorites, but I'm going to say it's 2. It's 3. Down to 2.5 on one book here. It is 3. We'll see how that line moves. But I like the Cardinals in that game. Rams have showed some cracks in the armor that I'm not totally comfortable with, but that should be a great game. Could go either way for sure. We'll see if that ends up on any of the picks. Let's talk about the night game, and then we'll work our way backwards to some other ones, because I feel like the Chiefs deserve some credit, but not as much as people are giving. All the time now, it's like, oh, Chiefs have won 1 million in a row. They keep winning. They look good. They scored 22 points. Their offense didn't look great. Mahomes barely did anything. 15 for 29 with a pick and no touchdowns. They didn't run the ball great. They were okay. Their offense didn't look good last night. It just didn't. Hill didn't do anything. Kelsey didn't do anything. It's just that Teddy Bridgewater can't do much. He looks hurt. He looks like his best days are behind him. This is not the guy you want. They'll be making a quarterback change in the offseason, if not sooner, but Drew Lock isn't better than him. Javonte Williams, I've been saying, is better than Melvin Gordon for a while, and they need to unleash him, and they did, and he ran it really well. That's why they did what they did. The Broncos definitely should have covered this game. I mean, they had a 10-play drive or 10-minute drive. Here. No, that's the touchdown one. Which was the one where they, let's see. Maybe it was earlier. This one. 20 plays, 11 minutes. And they don't come away with any points. It was 10-3. It's the second quarter. It's the first half. They're playing good defense. They're running down their throat. Teddy's completing passes. They get down there. They're in the red zone. 4th and 2 on the 8. They go for it. Just kick. I mean, most of the time I'm good with this, but you can't. You cannot have a 20-play drive where you get 0 points. I'm sorry. And this is what we broke down on Friday is like, I believe in the Broncos to have long drives and run the ball really well. But when they get to the red zone, are they going to be able to do anything? And they just couldn't. The whole time they couldn't. They never got to the end zone. They have all these weapons. They paid their receivers. They have Jerry Jeudy, who's awesome, who they can't really necessarily get going enough. Javonte Williams is amazing. Fant is good. Okwabunum. Albert is really good. Backup tight end. That guy's good. They have Cortland Sutton, who they just paid. They have Tim Patrick, who they just played. These guys are good. They have all the weapons offensively and just can't do anything because Teddy can't do it. And the Chiefs' defense didn't look unbelievable. It looked average. They're officially average. All their stats are average, but that is enough for them if the offense can carry them. How does the defense do against top teams is the question. Because, again, we said it Friday. They had the Giants. No. They had the Packers with Jordan Love. No. They have the Raiders, who couldn't do anything and just got shredded. And I still think the Raiders are donezo. They had the Cowboys without all their weapons, and now they have the Broncos with Teddy Two Gloves who can't throw. I'm not going to crown them yet. I think they're the scariest team in the AFC because if the defense is average and the offense is as good as it has been, then yeah, they're really good. But they were at home and struggled to score against this Denver D, who has good players and they're a good defense, but they're lucky to get out of this one with a 13-point win. It easily could have been 3 or 7, and it would have been a little scarier. But, you know, Denver could have tied the game right before halftime, 20-play drive, and they don't score. It's just Denver in a nutshell. It's just what they are. I'm starting to think they paid all these receivers just to apologize because, like, sorry, I know how annoying this is. Next year we'll be better. We'll get you a quarterback. And they already paid him. It's weird. But Denver is a quarterback away, you know, and you might have Rodgers and Russell Wilson available and Deshaun Watson available, who I'm not a fan of, but might be available. And you have teams like Denver, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. Maybe that's a hot take. I've been ripping on Kirk Cousins for weeks, though. San Francisco, although they have Trey Lance in there. I don't like Jimmy G, though. But all these teams are a quarterback away from being, like, terrifying. So, not all is lost for Denver, but they're a bad 6-6 team. Just, they're not bad. It's just the same as the Vikings. Like, you have all this talent and you're good, and yet you lose all these games. So I don't believe in you. That doesn't make you better than the teams that are just horrible, like the Lions and Jacksonville and Texans, because it's built in that they should be bad. What's your excuse? Play calling, Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio has never won a game when he trails at halftime, I think. Maybe it was 1. It was either like 0-18 or 1-18. They showed the graphic. And it was like horrible stats. And you're like, oh, the game's over. Meanwhile, they didn't have to be trailing. If they just score a touchdown on a 20-play drive, they're actually tied at the half. And their defense did so well. I mean, no one talks about today how they're alarmed that the Chiefs' offense didn't play well. Nobody. Everyone's just ready to crown them. And it's like, yeah, they are the scariest team because we know what they can do, and they're going to win the division in all likelihood. I don't think the Chargers are going to knock them off. I don't know if they play again. I think they do. They do. So maybe they win that game. I mean, who knows? But the Chiefs have Raiders, Chargers, Steelers, Bengals, Broncos. I don't know. Maybe they drop some of those games, but they are looking like they're rolling, and that's the team you definitely don't want to play. You let them get the 1 seed, it's a problem. So this game tonight for Bills and Patriots is obviously, I keep referring back to it, but it's what you circle back to in the AFC East, because, and just the AFC in general, because it could, winner of this game, playoffs could go through them and could get a bye for sure. So I'm not, I like the Chiefs. I mean, I'm scared of them for sure, but there are question marks on the defense when they actually play someone good, and on the offense when they actually play someone good. This team can crush bad teams, but what's going to happen when they have to go against good ones? I just need to see it. I'm not denying them. I have Chief bets to win the Super Bowl that I had from before the season, so I'm rooting for them. I just, I don't know if all the things are fixed by beating up on these teams that looked awful. That's it. What was next? Arizona. The only reason I didn't pick Arizona in this game, and it kind of proved to be true because it was only an 11-point game, but it felt like they blew them out, was because there was going to be bad weather in this game, and I wasn't sure if Kyler and Hopkins were going to hold up perfectly. And they did. They did. They looked really good. This wasn't an anti-Arizona pick. I didn't bet on the Bears or anything. Kyler and Dalton is a huge gap. It's not like we didn't know that. And the other thing was teams coming out of a bye had really bad records that we talked about on Friday. I gave those stats. The tricky thing with this one, though, is that the bye week still helps for health big time. There's no question about it. And they needed it. Arizona needed to get Murray and Hopkins healthy, and they did. They're 1 week closer to getting Edmonds back, although James Conner looks great and Kyler runs a lot. They can run it. They have a million weapons. There's nothing not to like about this team. Kyler fumbled twice, which could have been bad, but recovered both. If he doesn't recover one of those, we probably hit the Bears and still feel good about the Cardinals just because it was a bad weather game. This offense is just so stacked, and their secondary is really good on defense. Their front can be beat a little bit. You saw Montgomery run a little bit on them. This Bears team is just in a tailspin. Why hasn't Matt Nagy got fired? Remember on Thanksgiving when they were like, yeah, he's going to get fired the next day, and then they win, so they don't fire him? And now they lose this one. This is the excuse to fire him. Let's go. Him and Zimmer need to just hang out with Zimmer's girlfriend and just drink margaritas or something. They shouldn't be coaching teams. What's going on here? Why is he still there? What's taking so long? Maybe it'll be tomorrow? Maybe I'm a genius? And if so, I will tweet about it at MikeTheMush Sports, and that's how you'll get at me. But yeah, not a ton to talk about here. I still stand by the Bears pick in the bad weather, not knowing if Kyler and Hopkins were healthy enough to cover, but they were. And it's probably time to treat the Cardinals more like the Packers, who everyone's always looking for a reason not to take, and then they just print money. And who do they play next week? The Rams, right. We just talked about that. But then they get the Lions. The Colts is a huge game. This Colts game is huge for both teams. Cowboys, Seahawks. They do have a little bit of a tough schedule, but they're already 10-2. And if they can get that bye, man, look out. But they're still going to have to earn it. We'll get back to them when they play a better game and we can learn a little more. But Kyler healthy is all that matters. Hopkins healthy is all that matters. They didn't even need to throw it in this one. Which is interesting. It just shows the different sides that they can do. Realistically, Chicago just turned it over 1 million times. 2 fumbles, 4 picks. I mean, you don't have to do anything to win that game. And yet they only win by 11. So we were close with the Bears. And if the Bears get Fields back, maybe something will happen. But they need to tear it down. Big time. They're screwed. Let's talk about the Jets for a second. Mostly just because Gardner Minshew is the most disrespected quarterback around. Why isn't he starting for teams? He's better than Jalen Hurts. He's been better than Jalen Hurts forever, and now we have proof. I'm standing by it. I liked this. I picked the Jets on Friday, but once I knew that Hurts wasn't going to play, I didn't like them anymore, and I tweeted about that too. Because the spread went up, and then Minshew is better than Hurts, so I just didn't like the way that was trending. They lose by 15 anyway. I mean, I don't think it would have mattered. But I don't like Hurts, so I wanted to fade him. And, yeah, what is there to say? I mean, why isn't Minshew starting for a bunch of different teams? You look around and you're like, the Jets could be starting Minshew right now. They could have signed him as a backup instead of Mike White, who's in the Hall of Fame, but still, and Joe Flacco. The Browns should be starting him right now. He's better than Case Keenum, who they won't even play because Baker has one arm. He's better than Big Ben. The Steelers should have signed him, even if nothing else than to replace Mason Rudolph. This team would be really good with Minshew. The Texans could be starting Minshew. The Jaguars could have Minshew on their bench in case Lawrence doesn't work out. They're not going to bench him because he's young, but still. Vegas, I like Carr, and they have Mariota. Denver would be much better with Minshew than Bridgewater. Minshew is better than Bridgewater. Washington, Heineke? Maybe. The Eagles have him. The Giants would kill to have him as a backup now and would probably kill for him next year. I think Minshew might be better than Kirk Cousins. It's close. I really like Minshew. The Bears could be starting him. The Lions could be starting him. The Panthers could be starting him. The Falcons could be starting him. The Saints could be starting him. All these teams, the 49ers could be. He's better than Jimmy G. I really think so. I like Gardner Minshew. And he looked great. It's the Jets, I get it, but he went 20 for 25 with 2 touchdowns. He controls the game. He can do more than Hurts. He doesn't have the same running ability. The offense looks different. But I wonder if Hurts starts next week. I mean, if Minshew gets pushed back to the bench again, it's just sad. I hope he lands in a good spot next year with a starting gig on with a good surrounding cast. Because I think he deserves it and can be really good. Zach Wilson mostly did nothing again. Some flashes is all we've seen. The arm talent is there. I get it, but I'm worried. But at least there's something to look towards, unlocking the consistency with that arm talent. It's there. He makes some throws that you're like, wow, look at that. That's a pro. Do they have a real coach to unlock it further? I don't really know that they do, but we'll see. How can NFL kickers be this bad, and how can teams just continue to find the wrong ones? They found a way. Alex Kessman missed 2 extra points. They never even trotted him back out there. They just started going for 2 and kicking field goals and stuff. I mean, the Jets are bad. Also, do the Jets not know what a tight end is? Because Dallas Goedert was wide open down the field in the middle the whole entire time. You have a genius defensive coach, apparently. The Jets jumped offsides on 4th and 3 to give a first down when the Eagles really needed it. And the center moved first, like, clearly. And Saleh is on the field screaming, pointing about the center. And the refs just missed it and gave an offsides for a first down instead. It just goes to show those calls can be subjective, too. We always get mad at the calls on the QBs and stuff like that. But every call is pretty subjective. And I don't want them to replay them all because then it gets out of control. But just be better. Hire the refs full-time instead of being part-time employees. Train them better. I don't know. Do something. We don't need to talk about this. The Eagles aren't making the playoffs, I'm sorry. And if they do, I'll bet my house against them. Not that I have one, but I'll get a mortgage and then bet that against them. Give me a break. You can't be serious with the Eagles. This wasn't a 15-point win, by the way. They struggled at times with the Jets. It's such an easy schedule, though. I think they'll lose to Washington twice. I really do. And then lose to the Cowboys. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, Washington's... Oh, the Eagles have a bye next week? All right. And who... Yeah, so we won't know a spread, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when we get there in 2 weeks. These late buys are so weird. The long season is bizarre. It feels so much longer, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like we've been going forever and there's still like 6 games left to play? What the hell? Some teams have 6 games. Some teams have 5. It's crazy. Jeez. Let's talk about Baltimore and Pitt. Only 2 more games left to talk. Let's actually get the Niners-Seahawks out of the way quickly. I really just don't believe in Jimmy G. I just think he doesn't necessarily have it. I don't know if he's ever looked the same after the knee injury. He just doesn't move that well. He seems like a stone pocket passer, which he used to be able to jump around a little bit. And he just made a bad throw on 4th down late in the game when they could have tied it. They turn it over on downs, rushing down to tie the game. I mean, this was a knocked-out, drag-out fight, but Wilson finally looked better. I've been suspect of this San Francisco secondary for a while. George Kittle's really the story here. I mean, 9 for 181 and 2 touchdowns. Without him, they do absolutely nothing. Because they didn't run the ball well either. And this Seattle defense is rounding into form. It's probably too late for Seattle, but, like, I don't know. If you could beat the Texans, somehow upset the Rams. If you can win this one, right? You go 5-8. If you can somehow go to LA and upset the Rams. I don't know how that's going to happen. It's probably not. But if you could, then you're 6-8. You're 7-8 if you beat the Bears. You're 8-8 if you beat the Lions. And this Cardinals game at the Cardinals is a virtually playoff play-in game. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but they're not as far away as it makes it seem, especially when Russ plays better, you know? So I don't know what to say about this. I took the Seahawks, and I like them. I didn't have the guts to put them in a money line on my picks, and I should have, because when you don't have Debo and you don't have Fred Warner, it's the same thing I said Friday. It's like Seattle's healthier. Their defense is playing just as well as San Francisco's. They're at home, and they're not missing their two best players, and they have the better quarterback. And this has always been a nightmare matchup for Seattle, like for San Francisco. Seattle kind of owns them a little bit. Russell Wilson's really good against them. So a lot of people were backing the Niners, and I just didn't really understand that. Here's a question for Pete Carroll, who they can't fire because he's signed forever, and so is the GM, but they really should. Because, where was it? I had it written down. The fumble, yeah. It's a 3rd and goal, but they had a 4th and 1 here on the 4. There's 6 minutes left, and you're up by 7. Context matters. Being aggressive is cool, but context matters. Kick the field goal and go up 10. Let your defense play. What the hell? What are you worried about, an onside kick at some point? There's 6 minutes left. Instead, they go for it. They get the first down, but then they end up on 3rd down, and they fumble it. Pete, are you okay, bud? Go up 10 with 6 minutes left. Make San Francisco prove that they're going to get down the field twice. And even if they do, it's a tie game. Overthinking. Too cute. Too cute. I know they want to rip time off the clock and punch it in for a touchdown to really end it, but you just don't need it. It's not necessary. And let's not act like your offense has been a powerhouse. And you don't have any of your starting running backs. Travis Homer runs for 80 yards apparently, but yeah. I don't know. I just felt smart to not trust the San Francisco offense without Debo and the defense without Warner, and they'll be fine. They'll bounce back, but this wasn't a good spot for them. Seattle also had a 2nd and 43 in this game, so that tells you exactly how their season is going. Russell really needs help, too. There was a tip interception in the end zone. This game could have been worse for San Francisco, big time. Russ had a touchdown that got tipped up in the air and picked. But he does look back, and he looked healthier in this one, so I'm ready to ride Seattle a little more than I was before. At the Texans, we said it was like a 7.5-point spread, right? And that's the tease. I mean, we're looking right at it. I almost want to do it now because that spread's going to go up, but I won't. You never know what's going to happen. Russ gets COVID or something, God forbid. So we'll see. But look back for that one Friday because I'm imagining that's going to be a leg of the teaser. Last game I want to talk about is Baltimore and Pittsburgh because Baltimore loses. This game was horrible, by the way. Let's talk about the 4th down play. Everyone saw it. Baltimore is so confident in their short yardage situational offense with Lamar Jackson. And you can argue this one in both directions, right? They should be confident because they've done it a couple times with the game on the line, and it's gone well. And they've shown, like the Chiefs game, they go for it on 4th, they end the game. You know, they can do a lot of stuff. And they actually get the perfect play call, and Lamar just makes a tough throw. It doesn't make a tough throw that would have won the game. I thought it was kind of a bad throw. TJ Watt is coming in on him, but that was the play design. They know that TJ Watt's coming in off the right side because Mark Andrews leaks out for the wide open pass. It's the whole design of the play. Chip him, get out, throw the pass. And who's better equipped than an MVP quarterback that throws it sidearm all the time to throw a sidearm pass to a wide open guy? A big argument in my group chat about this. I think Lamar should have definitely made that throw and they should have won the game. In any case, it was the right play call. I don't think you can necessarily get on them for going for it there. I get it. Pittsburgh was reeling. The flip side of the argument, though, which is the weird part about the Ravens, right? Because they play on this dichotomy here. Because you can always go for it and be the aggressive team because you have Lamar in short yardage and he's very tough to deal with. You have a good tight end. You don't have a lot of good running backs, but the system works. The other thing is they have the better quarterback. Big Ben is bad. Pittsburgh wasn't moving the ball at all. And even remove the teams from the situation, you have Justin Tucker, who is the biggest overtime late game weapon in league history. All you have to do is get to the 40 and it's a cinch. You could get to the 45 and he'll hit a game winner like he did against the Lions. The Lions, by the way, have lost some close games. A miracle they haven't won before then. And also the Ravens play in wildly close games like all the time, which is leading me to my take of why I'm kind of a little bit out on the Ravens. And not more than a little bit. Especially they lose Marlon Humphrey on the last play. The touchdown play, Humphrey tears his pec and he's out for the season. That's bad for them. Their secondary was already bad and he's their star corner. So, yikes. But they've played a lot of close games that they've come out on the top side of. That Chiefs game was very close. They go for it on fourth. They get it. They could have lost that one. The Lions game, they could lose that one. They need, at the last second, Tucker hits a 65-yarder or whatever to win. Broncos, they beat bad. Colts, they beat in overtime. They could have lost that one. Chargers, they whoop. They get whooped by the Bengals. They beat the Vikings late on a field goal. That could have gone the other way. They beat the Bears barely last week, or 2 weeks ago. That could have gone the wrong direction. They beat the Browns in a close one late. When's the last time they played well? Chargers game? And they just ran all over them because the Chargers can't stop the run? And then before that, it's like, yeah, you beat the Broncos by 16. But there aren't other good... They're inflated. I'm not... And Lamar hasn't had it at all. He looked bad in this one. Again, missing throws, everything inaccurate. He's still running, but... I'm tired of making excuses for this Ravens team. They don't have a good defense, and their offense is so inconsistent, and I think Pittsburgh is pretty bad. You can't lose to Big Ben. Come on. The guy's so beyond done. You got to wonder. I'm not getting on the coaches. I'm not. Because maybe they should play for the elongating the game against a team they're better than with Tucker, and maybe they shouldn't. The play was there. But... I already would never pick or wager on Big Ben again, and I won't on Thursday, I promise. Slap me if I do. But I think I really am crossing Baltimore off my list of teams that I can trust. With Humphrey out for the season, their secondary already being bad, I can see them getting lit up. I mean, you basically did get lit up by the Steelers. Deontay Johnson dropped a wide-open touchdown, which would have been his third of the game. He crushed you all game long. And Big Ben didn't turn it over against you. You couldn't force a turnover on him? He's looked terrible. He's half in the grave. I just think this Ravens record is inflated from where it really could be. We just went over their close games. They could have lost a bunch more of those. They could be 6-6 if Tucker doesn't hit that field goal against the Lions and they lose one of the other ones. Even if they're 7-5, like, are teams gushing over this team that can't ever win in the playoffs and the quarterback looks like he's throwing it worse than he really has? I just think this team is exactly where the Titans were a couple of weeks ago, where their record is really good, and you're like, well, someone has to be the best team in the AFC. Do they? Because then the Titans went on to lose a bunch of close ones. So you look at the Ravens, and you're like, they got to go play the Browns. I don't know if I trust them to go on the road and win as favorites. I would imagine they're favored there, but not by much. Maybe they're not even favored. Yeah, no, Cleveland -2.5. And I get it. It's a spot to tease up Baltimore, probably, but we'll talk about that on Friday. I just think I'm out. And then they have to play the Packers. They're going to get smoked in that game, probably. They got to play the Bengals. That's tough. The Rams is tough. And then you got the Steelers again, who you just lost to. What if they go into tailspin? I don't know. Is Devontae Freeman going to carry you that far? I don't think so. So I also find it really weird how this was such a slog offensively, and then you finally get down to 2-minute territory, and both teams are like, all right, let's go score touchdowns. 11-play drive for a touchdown, 8-play drive for a touchdown, back-to-back, after you couldn't score touchdowns the whole game. It was 13-12 with 4 minutes left in the game. And then all of a sudden, everyone can just play. These defenses are so silly. It's the same as the Vikings going into Prevent D. It's like, you're playing too soft. Don't be afraid to go after it. Just because it's a one-score game, you can't let them walk right down the field. It happens so often. Playing soft defense gets you crushed. It loses games. Stupid play calls, leaving the middle of the field open constantly. I don't know how teams still do it. They do. But yeah, it just felt like Pittsburgh kept offering Baltimore chances to win the game, and they politely declined and offered the win to Pittsburgh, and they said, no, you, please. And yeah, I just didn't like it. There was also a spot where there was an interception that turned into a flag. I think it was here. Yeah. Big Ben does turn it over, and it was a flag. It was defensive pass interference. But So I'm not going to complain about it or anything, and that's why I'm mentioning it last. But I really still think, I've been saying it, and if you listen to me talk about football, especially on a football Sunday, there's a flaw in how the game is just made and broadcasted, in that you can't get excited when plays happen. Because you get pumped for that pick, and you're like, oh my God, crazy, that Baltimore's going to win. They're finally going to pull it out. They turned it over. They finally turned Ben over. This is what they were waiting for. And then time goes by, and you see the yellow flag, and you're like, oh, okay. And it's not a bad call. The refs didn't do anything wrong in this scenario. It's just a flaw in how the game is portrayed and broadcast. And I don't know if you can ever fix that, but it bothers me. I don't hear a lot of other people talk about it. In any case, I might be out on the Ravens. I just might be. We'll see what happens. They're not in my good camp. I'll tell you that much. So that's a wrap on all of Sunday's games. And like I said, we did fine. We crushed Saturday. We broke about even on Sunday, which makes for a good weekend. And if you're following along, I still think our analysis is pretty on point. So I'm trusting what we're doing here. Which brings us to Monday night. We got the Patriots and Bills. I talked about this a little bit on Friday already, so go back to that if you want a full breakdown. And we'll do it in hindsight tomorrow. And tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll talk more NBA. We haven't done it in a little while, and I want to, recap where we're at in that. But a couple things to add to this one. I've liked the Patriots the whole time. I've been on the Patriots to win the AFC at plus 750, feeling really good about that. I'm always down on the Bills. I don't really believe in Josh Allen as much as other people. Now Tre'Davious White is injured for them, who's their best defensive player. It does sound like they'll get Tremaine Edmonds back, and Star Lotulelei will be back, which is big for them. The real only thing I'm concerned about in this game is it sounds like there's a lot of wind in Buffalo tonight, and it's a tough place to play. You do have the Patriots having a rookie quarterback going into a really tough spot, Bills Mafia on Monday night in insane wind, but I can do nothing but trust Mac Jones a lot. He's done nothing but win. They've looked great on defense. I see this being a low-scoring game. I'd lead towards the under if you want to. There's a world where you can even tease Patriots in the under. I didn't do that, but you could think about it. And I just feel like Kyle Duggar being out for the Patriots hurts them a lot. It really does. But they still have Judon, who's like the defensive player of the year, and Barmore and a bunch of other guys. I just think they're bigger, tougher, stronger. Bills get some line help back in this one, it sounds like. So they're healthier than they have been, and maybe they win the game. But I like the Patriots getting points. I like when Belichick is the better coach, which he always is. So you're getting a better coach there. I like what I've seen from Mac. I like their running game. And I just think they're better than the Bills. And I think the spread should probably be 2, and it's 3. So I see a little bit of value there. And I actually see value on the money line. And really, I've just seen Belichick own the Bills constantly. And I don't trust Josh Allen to throw it straight, especially in the wind. Maybe the wind pushes his throws in a more straight direction, but I don't know. I don't ever trust Josh Allen against good defenses. And that's what you have here. And I think the Patriots, without Tre'Davious White, can get a big, weird play to Aguilar down the field, or Kendrick Bourne, who's been good. They don't have great weapons, but neither do the Bills. Diggs is the only good weapon on either side of the game, and you could argue that the Patriots have 2 good running backs that can stay fresh throughout. Bills don't have that. And Patriots have better tight ends, probably. Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Dawson Knox is a nice little piece, but I just think this is going to be a really close game, and I'll take the +3 where I can get it. So that brings us to Monday's picks. Let's do it. Official picks for Monday. This is not going to be a surprise, but I'm taking the Patriots every which way I can get them. And we're hoping that my season-long narrative that they're the best team in the division and maybe the conference starts to pay off here. So it's narrative-based, it's X and O's based, and it's not trusting Josh Allen based, and it's Belichick based. A lot of stuff. A lot of BBBs. So I'll take the Patriots +3. That's the first one. Take that by itself. I also believe that if you're taking a team as an underdog getting points, you should sprinkle a little bit on the money line a lot of the time, especially when it's close like this, and I think they could win. So I'm taking Patriots +3 for a bit. Patriots money line at +130 for a bit right now. See what happens right before kickoff, but you can get that in. I'm going to take a 7-point teaser on the Pats to get them up to 10, and I'm going to tease that with the Clippers in basketball at the Blazers, who don't have Dame Lillard. I think the Clippers are better at full strength, and the Blazers don't have Dame. I don't know why that spread is the way it is. It's a little bizarre. And then if you really want to just get away from the Pats, I understand a little bit too much on them on a Monday, throw an NBA one in there because I want to talk NBA tomorrow, and this is a great excuse. So I'm going to parlay the Bulls with the Nuggets. The Bulls against the Nuggets, Bulls money line against the Nuggets and Clippers money line against the Blazers again. You'll get pretty solid plus odds there, around plus 140-ish, I think, by getting those two, maybe plus 150. And both extremely winnable games. Nuggets are really banged up. Bulls are a better team. And Clippers, like I said, teasing them with the Patriots too. So we're all over the Patriots. We got some basketball picks in there, which we've been red hot on for you. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll be back Tuesday to reconvene, talk about Monday Night Football, talk NBA. And if you're feeling in the holiday spirit, check out the Link podcast at the Link_podcast. I released my first of 4 holiday-themed episodes, audio-only podcast, non-sports related, talking about just about everything else. Christmas songs. It was fun, and a lot of Christmas stuff. So check that out at the Link_podcast. On Twitter and Instagram, I am at MikeTheMush. Check that out. I would love if you could follow on Twitch. Hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going live, but roughly 5 p.m. Eastern every weekday for now. We might switch up the schedule every now and then. We'll see. And then Mike the Mush on YouTube. If you don't catch it live, you can always get it there. Subscribe there. Hit the like button. Do all the stuff. Comment. Join the chat. Do the things. Tell your mom. Tell your friends. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.